person. Hello, humans of the earth. I'm going to be continuing on a reading of Esoteric Psychology by Alice A. Bailey. But first, a little preface. I've been gone for a while. I've been stuck. I was stuck for many different reasons. It's never just one, right? But I think that what happened today was a culmination of that kind of helped me to see a process of how I even got unstuck. It wasn't even by any, okay, let me just tell you, start from the beginning. So many reasons. One huge reason, one of my close friends had a really scary health diagnosis that we got news of, and it was, I was heartbroken. And so that was, it was really sad and still is, but we go through these emotions, feeling helpless, all this stuff, and then it's been a few weeks now we're getting updates from her in our group chat, her treatment plan, we know what's going on, and she's doing better, she's doing okay, and that helps us to feel a little bit more okay, right? And so we're getting a little bit unstuck in terms of that mental thing. Not to say that she's not going to have a longer journey and a different process, but in terms of feeling that helplessness and what to do, not knowing what to do or how to help another person, or to feel that kind of heartbreak for another person that you care about, is like, it gets you and you have to move through that. And so for a while sometimes that's just to not you can't do anything about it. You have to just kind of see what's next, because you don't know, and you kind of get stopped. Life will sometimes stop you and slow you down and make you be like, wow, this can happen. Speaking of that, another whole other thing happened during the time that I've been taking a pause from this study. There was a global event, right? We had a person get assassinated, their life taken, right? Same thing. Whether you like the person or not, whether you agree with them or not, that's a thing that happened in your lifetime. Someone's life was taken in a global stage, or here in the US, in the States. That happened. And then you get stuck. You're like, whoa, I have to register what that means. The kind of world that we're living in, the kind of mindset the people are in around us, the fact of the matter that, whether, you unpack all the information or not, it's just kind of like, this is the facts. And the facts are, this heartbreaking thing has happened. Again, I'm sad. People were, recording it, and then other people would get access to it. I thankfully didn't see it. I couldn't look at that, but people are seeing it live, and they're looking at this thing, and people, you have people in the news, little kids that saw that, and they're just reporting on it, and the state of the mindset of people that are right now desensitized to things and how we got here. It makes you sad, that makes you feel helpless again. So this kind of pattern of getting stuck is this kind of repeat thing for me, and I was kind of understanding those feelings, or cycling through those feelings of, just feeling heartbroken, feeling sad, and then feeling helpless, and kind of like, what the heck do you do with this? What the heck do you do with this information? What the heck do you do with this experience? And whether it's like touching you directly in your life, or someone, in his whole family and the people he knows and the outpouring, but it's just the reality again of this can happen. And where are we at in terms of our mindset and our healing and whatever we're doing with this work, and that with the book. And that's the whole thing. It's talking about the evolution of consciousness. What do you do? How do you get unstuck? And it's like, these are the things that are going to teach you. These are tools. But I couldn't read this, I couldn't pick this up because I got stuck there too. So it was just this whole thing, right? And I was like, this is happening for a reason, for sure, for sure. But I can't rush the process. How I got stuck here was, I was just reading the next part of this book, and I've read it many times before and stopped there every single time because I get conflicted about this same part of the teachings every time. And when this is something that brings so much like clarity and understanding for me, and you get to that point where you hit that wall and you just stuck again, it's just kind of like, what the fuck? Yes, I said it. I'm sorry. But it's just like, it's got this way too expensive spray at a spiritual shop. It's awesome. It's white light spray. It's like, come on. Doo-doo. I can't. You're just gonna have to Google it. It's awesome. That helps me get unstuck. The senses, which is part of what we're going to get to here. So now I'm unstuck on this, but for a while it was like heartbreaking. Same thing, same cycle, heartbreaking. I can't move forward with this. I'm sad. I feel helpless. How do I understand this? Why do I have a conflict with this? And like I said, and I stick to it to this day. If I come to something in this that I feel, disconnected with, or I think it's not in alignment with my beliefs, or it doesn't feel right, I will challenge it. I'll speak out on it. I'm never going to be one of those diehards, even when talking about the politics. You pick a side, and I'm just like, oh, I don't see anything. I don't hear anything. La, la, la. I'm not gonna analyze what someone does that's problematic, or I'm not gonna see that there's issues or things that are wrong on my side of the fence. Like, I'm not gonna dance and celebrate when someone's life is taken for having a different opinion than me. Like, that's not cool, right? And I'm not gonna act like the words and the actions of people that I support haven't caused pain to other people, or caused them, to feel othered or seen as less than, or to feel, triggered in some way or shape or form. It's like words have power. I'm not going to act like there isn't harm done, but I'm not going to be so raw, put on my, what do you call it? The uniform of the team that I'm on, and just like have that mob mentality where it's just like you see no wrong in anything that a group or an ideal or a people does, because that's cult like mentality, right? That's like, you're not thinking. That's being a robot. That's going through in a way that's going to get you swept into activity that is not conscious. And what we're learning to do as souls embodying our vessels is to think, and to think on different levels. And when you think on the higher levels, which we're learning about, that unlocks more abilities for you to move through life with that sense of calm, that sense of knowing, that sense of direction. Helps you get unstuck faster when you're faced with all of these things that are going to happen in life, because life is what it is, and we're going to get into that. This is going to be a clicky type of video, because gosh, I went so many places. Let me show you. Like, you can see that's what happens in the tabs when I go down, and I did, and it was really good. It was therapeutic. It was awesome. But the long story long is that what I found in all of these situations is that the key to getting unstuck was getting more information. More information. When I found out more information from my friend, I heard, what her plan is or whatever. You start to feel a little bit better. You start to know how you can help support, even if that's, for the time being, if it's like they can't have you around immediately, like they need to process. All right, cool. But what can I do? They give you that one thing to do. Okay, you feel a little bit better. You have a little bit of information. That information makes you feel light. The information is also what we learn from these esoteric teachings, light. light as in vibration. Vibration is energy. Energy is motion, and motion gives you a path forward. So you get unstuck through getting more information. Same thing with, the Charlie Kirk and all that. Say what you want. I'm watching Candace Owens and I'm like, oh my God, she's being a freaking beast right now, going through all this stuff. She's questioning everything. She's like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this, whether I find out that I'm right or I'm wrong, whether it's nothing, whether it's something. I'm just not going to be one of those people that sit around and act like we didn't just go through something major and intense, and we need to figure out the pieces of how we got to this point. And again, this isn't the first time we're hearing this in the headlines. I remember thinking, not even, this year's flown by. I can't believe it's already October, almost November. But I remember thinking, like, with all the media pushing all of this division and this hate and this no one can voice their opinion, you can't have a different, either you're agree with me or you're freaking the devil incarnate, crazy mob-like, cult-like mentalities that they're putting on both sides. It's like, I was like, man, with all this angst and then the media pushing also all these entertainment shows with such gore, such violence, and it's such conditioning of, like I said, desensitizing people to the things that we're seeing, pain and stuff like that. When you see pain and people hurting and people suffering, you got wars going on, you got all this stuff, and people are just kind of acting like, fascinated by it or like revved up by it. They don't stop. It didn't stop people in their tracks is what I guess I'm getting at. But it stopped Candace, and I'm like, okay, here's one person that I think is, at least I know that I've seen them say one thing and then I've seen them say, okay, that's wrong, and I'm going to look at this other thing, whether you agree with everything or not. I like people that can say, hey, I was wrong, or hey, that person that I really respected or liked did something wrong, and I'm not going to like sit here and, continue to advocate. I'm going to say, hey, let's look into this, or let's do better. I don't feel that there's a lot of people out there right now that are representing that kind of mindset and that ability. So I like that, and I look towards that, and I respect that. And so listening to her do her investigation and call in all this information from all the people that are, from all our different sides and corners, just trying to figure out a way to feel less heartbroken, less sad, and less helpless through bringing in information, more light, more vibration that gives us energy, that gives us a purpose, that gives us a path forward. We're going to get unstuck through that endeavor. And with this reading, same thing. It's like I felt in conflict with some of the stuff that's in this section, and I got more information by sitting with it, by questioning it, but not just saying, oh, whatever, I'm going to go ahead and pop right on there and just act like I'm okay with this, or just read it and, act like, oh, yeah, this makes sense. No, I'm like, this is fundamentally something that I'm opposed to, or that I feel an issue with, so I need to get to the bottom of this. And part of that was simultaneously when I was reading it, there was a couple of particular videos on the Understanding channel by Seven Bomar that were like directly talking about how Bailey and, well, not Bailey, but Blavatsky got kind of swept into this, or was her teachings are an offshoot of basically like the usurping of these spiritual teachings, where these people back in the days of kings and queens were dealing and dabbling in occult knowledge or astrology, things like that. Not astrology, but trying to know these secrets, the secrets of secrets. And they were infiltrated in whatever way. And it's funny because Candace was talking about that too. So there's like these parallels where it's just a time where you have to have extra discernment. We've said that all the time. We say that all the time, and we are seeing that it's never been truer. But I've gotten to a place where I'm seeing the patterns, and that gave me some more information to go on to understand this section and to continue to move forward and get more light. And that gave me more energy and got things in motion, and I have a path forward. and I'm back to share that with you. So 15 minutes of a long-winded intro. Maybe I will just, I really want to just like leave it here, because if I get started on this, I know it's just going to be like a 3-hour video. Like I said, I gotta click through all these tabs. But what I will do is read a bit of this intro here, because this is where, I went back to the basics for one thing of like, why am I into this? Why are we reading this? Why are we learning about esoteric psychology? Back to the basics. The publisher's website, you can see right here, you can click on the books. You can read the books online, or you can purchase them from the publisher's website, all that good stuff. And so they have these overviews of what the books are about. And here's the one for esoteric psychology. And this was really helpful for me, because I'll just read it and then I'll say why. And then I will continue this, pick this up in another video, because again, this is going to be a good one. This was helpful for me, but this one I'll just leave it to that. Kind of figuring out a way forward from the stuckness, and that the answer is always that same pattern. Just get more information, even if it's like why you're feeling that way, or understanding that there's probably a pattern that you can pick up on, and those feelings or those emotions that you can release. It's like, are you feeling heartbroken over something? Are you sad about something? Do you feel helpless? What can you do to give yourself some more information that can ease that emotion, that feeling in any of those areas in a little bit, in some whatever small way? And that, I guarantee you, will give you some more motion and a path forward. So here, let's read this. So here it says, Esoteric Psychology, Volume 1 by Alice A. Bailey. Again, this is the book that we've been reading on this channel. So as a good quick refresher and a reminder of why we're reading this, here's what the book is about. Again, you can have it read it for free here on the website, or you can buy it. They're selling it here, sell it lots of places. More about this. 5 volumes have been written under the overall title, A Treatise on the Seven Rays. These books are about the 7 rays. This sequence of books is based on the fact, the nature, and the quality of the 7 basic streams of energy pervading our solar system. And they are pervading, coming through, like permeating, going through our solar system, our planet, and all that lives and moves within its orbit. So energy that comes right down and affects us. Of the specialized subjects presented in these books, 2 volumes are concerned with esoteric psychology, the first in relation to basic energy patterns and structures, the second particularly applied to the soul and the personality of man, and to the working out of the plan for humanity. So again, that helped me get unstuck. I'm like, wow, there's a plan for humanity. That's why we're looking at this. When you look outside and everything in upside down world wants to make you think that there's no point to life, there's no point to, this thing that we're doing, we're existing, or it's very basic, we're just here to impress other people, to be on social media, or to get a job and have this air of, prestige based on our own hierarchies and bullcrap that we put upon each other, or to have certain things, luxuries, or whatever. That's not the point or the plan for humanity. And that's something that these books have definitely given me, is that kind of reassurance and that confidence and that feeling that there is something bigger going on the world stage. And it explains it quite clearly and accurately. And the reason why it's able to do that is because it looks at both parts of reality, the seen and the unseen. It doesn't have this materialistic, like they say in the field of science, this materialistic view of like, I only believe in what I can see and touch and feel and taste and whatever, which also brings me back to the section that I was reading, because it talks about how our senses are a reflection of the senses, the divine senses of what the whole grand scheme of this is all about. the divine is sensing and experiencing through us, who are broken down here into our individual parts so that we can sense and experience the world and all of the different things that go on in our day-to-day life. These things that get us stuck, these cycles that repeat, these lessons that we're here for, there's all a reason. Mainstream will have you think there's no reason, there's no rhyme or reason. And also, hey, if you're looking into any of that occult stuff or that esoteric stuff, astrology, all of those things, that's not logical. That's pseudoscience, right? That makes you weird, that makes you silly, that makes you woo-woo, that makes you not practical. And this says, hey, no, you're an upside down world, and the reason why all of this has been kind of shunned and pushed into the backs of people's minds to laugh off, to dismiss, to ignore, is because this gives a sense of empowerment, a sense of knowing, a sense of light through that information. And that gets you in motion with a path forward to understanding purpose, destiny, who you are, what's your soul, what's your mission, all that stuff. It's like, of course, that's something that you want to have pushed down in a world where you want people to be obsessed with superficial things, right? Not that you can't do those things, but to understand that, hey, life is both. It is the visible and it is the invisible. It's like the emotions or the why we have intuition, our feelings, our senses, all that stuff. What energies are beaming down at us. This is why I said, again, I can't get into the reading today because I'm in a talking mood. But this right here is going to be helpful as a preview. Again, this is bringing us back to the basics, why we're doing this study. So the materialistic view is like, I only believe in what I see and touch and hear and taste and what I can observe and what I can repeat in, scientific experiments. That's cool. You can only believe, you can choose that worldview, but that doesn't negate the fact that there's this whole other thing that's going on, that's happening, that there's people that are believing in this stuff. There's people that are acting upon this information. There's people who are really adept in this information too, and that use that to kind of take advantage even of people who are under that program, that there's nothing more to this, right? And so this, again, like I said, goes back to the Seven Bomar video and the days of kings and queens who had advisors who studied the occult and knew about certain things, and that studied the stars and watched the planets and learned about patterns and learned about the influences of the things that are these basic streams of energy that are influencing us. And they kind of collected more power, more nobility, more things by being privy to certain information others weren't privy to, or were told it was demonic, or told that it was against their religion or whatever. But we know that certain religions were put in place to control and sect off people, again, to keep them in their boxes. But if it gives them hope and inspiration and leads you towards being a light in the world, there's nothing wrong with that. What happens is when we get that kind of domination, like, oh, I'm going to take over and you need to think what I think, right? You're wrong if you don't believe what I believe. That is falling into the other program, what we're seeing right now with politics and everything, right? I'm going to kill you because you don't believe what I believe in my faith. Faith doesn't stand to serve for us to hurt each other, to harm each other, to control each other. It's supposed to give that sense of conviction to help us understand our purpose, which again brings me back here. But again, that's why I was so heartbroken and sad when something in here seemed a little off, seemed a little fishy, but we worked through that. Continuing on. So there's 7 streams of energy pervading our solar system. Again, keeping that in mind, the solar system, the solar system, what do I have up here? The planets. So we have a solar system. Planets revolve around the sun. Sun is the light in the middle. The light in the middle, there's all of these as above, so below things that we learned through the occult. And these planets orbit in a very specific path over and over and over again around this beaming ball of energy, this ball of light. Light, again, is vibration. Light is energy. Light is information. And all of these have certain attributes to them, certain energies that beam down on Earth. We're here, one of these things orbiting it, but we're impacted by all of these things that are in orbit around us, and all of these things, including us, are in orbit around this one thing, the sun. The sun, also known as the soul, the solar system. The soul is what we are orbiting around, and we too have a soul. So back to where it's saying here, the 7 energies pervading our solar system, our planet, and all that lives and moves within its orbit. It affects us, whether or not you believe it. Again, whether or not you believe it to be serious or not, the fact remains that the moon affects the tides of the ocean. And that also affects the women. Yes, when we have our cycles. It lines up with the moon, the full moon, and the shedding. And I'm not going to get too graphic here, but it's affected. And it happens naturally. We're not doing anything. It's the energy. And it comes in a cycle every 30 days, just like the moon has its waxing and waning and it does its thing. It's affecting us. And if we think only that one body in the sky is affecting only this one type of person or being on this earth, we would be wrong. Because when the sun moves around from, day to day, and the seasons that we have, we see plants responding to it. We see vegetables and animals responding to it. The trees are responding to that thing moving around us, right? Our energy levels are affected when it's sunny and bright out versus when it's dark and gloomy and rainy. The seasons and the energies that are unseen affect us. That is not up for debate any longer. But there's still this worldview that would have us think, nothing to see here. And if you dare to believe in that stuff, you're going to be bad, but you're going to be deemed as bad. So it's at this point where when you're ready to get unstuck, this information is available to you. And like they say, when the student's ready, the teacher will come. It unlocks all of this information that sometimes seems like a fire hose. You're like, whoa, that's a lot. But you can put it down and come back to it as you're ready. And each time you do, like every time I read a book over again that I'm reading, from years and years and years ago, you read it with a different level of understanding. You read it with a different level of consciousness. And again, that's what this whole thing is all about. We're working out the plan for humanity. And this says, psychology is defined in Webster's dictionary as the science of mind, at one time considered a branch of metaphysics. So this is metaphysical work. Today, we are more inclined to include all the conditioning, subjective factors as psychological in nature, mental and emotional impulses, and soul contact, to whatever degree it exists. Not all of us are in full contact with our soul. We can see that in the happenings that are going on in the world. But those of us who do become in rapport with the soul have certain different experiences in life. And as demonstrated in the book, how it talks about the journey of the monad. And we'll get into all that when I go over this read. I'm actually much, much happier with the section than I was. I still have an issue with it, but I think reading it with awareness of the fact that there could have been some manipulation of the storyline, the narrative, the teachings, will make me that much more equipped to move forward again through that. Now that I'm unstuck, my mind has been unstuck, but I'm also more aware, more conscious, and so I can read it and read it with much more precision because I'm going to be questioning it. So I'm going to get more answers. When I get more answers, I get more information. And again, that just helps the whole cycle go forward, where you can actually get much more out of it than if you just read through it just like, oh, I'm just reading through this with the goal to get to the last page, right? This stuff takes time. It's a life study. I say this all the time. You're not reading for the purpose of, oh, I did it, I got the t-shirt. You're reading to absorb and to understand, and to embody a teaching, a thing. And some parts I'll go faster through, and some parts I'll go slower through, and some parts I will completely come to a halt, like I just did, like I said earlier. And that's okay, because so much more life happened and so much more growth happened in the meantime. And now I feel like even when I'm coming back and reading these words over, which I read at least 100 times, even these say something different to me than they did then. because something else was set in motion by the new information, the new light that was taken in that time while I was processing, or while I was in conflict with it. So the impulses and soul contact, to whatever degree it exists, we're not all at the same level of soul awareness or consciousness. These subjective influences constitute the whole psychological background to a man's attitudes and behavior, and create the faculty of spiritual response. The psyche is, after all, the human soul. So psyche, at the heart of psychology, is the psyche. It's the study of the mind, what we call it in Webster's, but the psyche is the human soul. It's the center of consciousness. So esoteric psychology, which goes to the esoteric meaning the lesser known, or not the common, the mainstream, right? Understood only by a select few normally, than things that are mainstream and understood. But this is changing. But esoteric psychology begins with a consideration of the human being as a soul, manifesting in the form of a personality, consisting of mental, emotional, and etheric physical substance, and more or less in contact and control, depending on the stage of evolution in the personality consciousness. So again, rising in personality consciousness, we're talking about with the astrology, when you learn all of those different traits that are randomly on this wheel that we randomly each have our own little mix and packaging of, which we talk about when you learn your birth chart, all this stuff. And you get to be like, oh, okay, we're all here different, but we're all here for why? For the soul's journey, each of them being unique. And that's why it's kind of like, that gives purpose right there, like to figure out what that is for you. And it's rather than, again, that materialistic view, like we're all just here to make money, get bitches, do hood rat things with our friends. No, but that's a part of it. It's like you also get to do hood rat things with your friends, but that's not all there is. And if you make that all there is, you might feel a little stuck. You might feel a little empty because you're not like satisfying this other piece that is unseen. That is like, hey, I have growth here to do. I have development here to do. And whether I'm actively participating or not, these energies are affecting me, right? The moon's going to go around regardless. And I can't just stop that cycle from happening. The cycle's going to come until it stops later on in life. I'm speaking for women, and I'm talking about in all cycles on a bigger screen too. It's like you can catch the wave and you can ride it, or you can just get kind of knocked down by them, but they are going to keep coming. And this kind of is like, hey, materialists, you've had the microphone for this whole time, and we see where you've gotten us with this just like more attitude, more ego, more personality, like, but you're not really getting us where we need to go as a humanity, because we're still seeing all these crazy things happening. We're still seeing all this suffering. We're still seeing all this disconnectedness, and everything that has to do with the soul and consciousness and evolution is about becoming at one with people and learning how our actions impact other people. It's this kind of awareness that all this stuff is going with it. And it doesn't come from this place of, again, religious judgment, dogma, rule book. No, you're bad. It's more like, okay, I can be an asshole, but I can also not be an asshole. And I would like to learn the ways in my chart and my makeup that make me kind of an asshole. And I'd like to work on those as I move through life. And I'd like to see how my experience changes as I become less full of ass-headedness and more full of soulfulness. Or like this, I don't know where that came from, but okay, so that's what it is. Personality consciousness. Esoteric psychology is about the evolution of consciousness. From the point of view of esoteric psychology, evolution is the evolution of consciousness by which the embedded fragment of the soul, we each have a fragment of the soul to start with, and it is within our personality that progressively identifies its spiritual source and becomes at one with it. Again, you become more of yourself by learning about spirituality. You don't become less of yourself, even though everything's about like, forget your ego, drop the personality, forget all this, be empty in your mind and all that stuff. It's like, that's kind of a surface level. Again, the spiritual shops where the people will sell you the spray and they're going to be wearing, the beads and the the puka shells or whatever, and they're just in the hairstyle, and they're like, oh, but they're not really doing anything. There could be a superficial way to be doing this too. This is a deep work, and it's a study. It's like not a abstaining from this and that and judging this and that. It's more of like I'm concerned with me. And the better I make myself, I can show up in the world that I know that I'm not going to be one of those people that's causing heartbreak, sadness, and helplessness for other people. My soul is evolving. So my contribution, my stamp here is going to be good. And then whatever happens after that, including as you have that experience through life where you're attracting more things or you're moving through with more ease, you have that light path forward, less lessons of trauma and triggering and traps. That's, one thing that makes it worthwhile right there. And it's not like it's not a showy thing. It's a self journey. However, if you happen to connect with others along the way that you can do that with, wonderful, powerful, explosive, actually. You can actually do more with other people. I talk about that all the time, synergy. That's why I'm doing this, because the more people come together for the purpose of growing in this understanding and doing the work it's going to say down here at the end of this, because it's very ironic how this teaching mirrors what I've felt or what I've wanted, and it already exists way long ago. This isn't the first book on these kinds of things, and this one is though from 1936, the first printing. And it's like, how far we've come. It's 2025, and this isn't common knowledge. So that's why I feel like esoteric, again, the occult, these things are worth a study, because they've been so suppressed and pushed down. But people did know about it, and were trying to get the message out so long ago. So now it's kind of like a mission within the mission of the personal self, just to kind of be like, hey, you guys, like, this is wrong to be so judgy and so exact and so certain that this is pseudoscience, and that science is actually the end-all be-all, the new religion, right? What the doctor says or what scientists say is, the only thing that we can go by. But if that's been usurped in some way, shape, or form by this materialist worldview that refuses to see an error in its ways or in its camp, and it will not call it out for the betterment and the advancement of everyone, then obviously that can't be all there is. Obviously that can't be the ultimate truth. And seekers always look for the ultimate truth. That's what spirituality is. That's what esoteric studies is about. That's what esoteric psychology is about. It's about pairing the mainstream psychology that just studies behaviors and emotions and attitudes and triggers and traumas and things that create who the person is and their physical, like who you are now. Esoteric studies like what you were made of, like the beginnings, and then what you are meant to do moving forward as you evolve in the stage of evolution in the personality consciousness. So again, we progressively identify with our spiritual source and become at one with it. The 7 differentiated streams of ray energy play a significant role in this evolutionary process. A blend of 5 energies in a human being determine his goals, his problems, his available qualities, and energy resources, and the correct method by which, according to his dominant ray influence, we each have a different dominant ray, which we'll learn about through this study, he may unfold his consciousness and make spiritual progress. In this volume of esoteric psychology, many of these distinctive ray qualities and methods are given as quotations or interpretations of the old commentary, and that is Blavatsky, put into poetic and symbolic words. This, again, right here was really helpful to me with where I was getting stuck, because it is very symbolic in this next section, and it is very, that's how a lot of the occult teachings are delivered. But this says, going back to the basics, we understand why it was done that way and how it is delivering this bigger picture of these 7 basic streams of pervading energy that are all divine energies, but they give it in this symbolic way of talking about the 7 creative builders. And someone might materialists might open up this book and be like, oh, the builders of the great plan and the work are doing this stuff, and oh, this is ridiculous, right? But they miss the point. They are looking through one tunnel vision version of reality, but that doesn't make it right. And that doesn't make this wrong. But this explains here very plainly, which I don't see in a lot of actual occult teachings, where it says, hey, yeah, this is poetic and symbolic, and this is what we're saying. The 7 rays are shown as the 7 creative builders, each one imbued with purpose and power. They function together as a synthesis in occult obedience to the purpose of the solar logos. Solar logos, solar logic, solar system. Remember, we're all orbiting around, and we have these energies coming down on us, and there's a purpose. There's a soul journey. There's a solar evolution. There's a solar process that we're trying to understand. Why do planets revolve around the sun? Why do we get influenced by those planets? How do we get influenced by those planets? You know, how does that affect our journey and our evolution as we grow in our personality? From times we're babies to times we're teenagers, does our personality change? Yes. From the time we're teenagers to the time we're, adults, to our personality change? Yes. Whether that's a conscious development or just very, happenstance, it's important. It's interesting to learn. Such a detailed and comprehensive study of the ray energies influencing our planetary life and all kingdoms in nature is of inestimable value to the aspirant consciously preparing himself to become of planetary service as he learns to serve and to unite with his fellow men. And again, for people who are part of their cult of the day and are pissed off by the fact that this is an old book and it says his and him and fellow men, you're missing the mark. That's not the point at all. This is available to everyone. It is not gender specific. It is not race specific. It's not religion specific. It's not whatever specific. This is inclusive for everyone who is interested in getting unstuck. And so I will leave that there. It has already been 40 minutes somehow just to do this video about becoming unstuck. I hope in some way this was helpful, and I am very much looking forward to seeing you again in the next one to go over the next part of esoteric psychology. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.